Hello, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us here today. We are having our final Villa Maria virtual wine tasting for 2024. How exciting! I can't believe it's the end of the year already. It's gone incredibly fast. So today, for those of you who don't know, I'm Anna Childs. I'm the event coordinator for Somerset, and I'm joined today by Brittany and David. And before I introduce these experts, I'll just run through a little bit of a housekeeping for our wine tastings. So the webinar will run for about an hour. We've got 3 different wines to taste today. You guys should be able to see and hear us, but we can't see and hear you at the villages. So if you've got any questions along the way, please just type in or get your activities coordinator to type in the chat function for you at the bottom of your screen, and we can answer those questions as we go along. So after we've done a little tasting of each of the wines, what we do is we just put on a slideshow and just show some images, and we just sort of are quiet. It might look a bit awkward, us just sitting there staring at the screen, not talking, but that is for a reason. It's just so you guys have a chance to chat amongst yourselves how much you love that wine, and you're going to go out and buy lots of it after the tasting. So that's what that's for. So without further ado, I will introduce you. So joining us today, we have Brittany. So she is from Indevin. Hi, Brittany.
Hello. Hi. Thanks for having us.
No worries. And we've also got David Roper with us today, and he's a senior winemaker for Villa Maria.
Good
Brittany,
afternoon. How are we?
hey, Brittany, do you want to tell us a little bit about Indevin?
Yeah, I'll leave Indivin history and update to Dave, but my name's Brittany. I'm part of the sales team at Indivin. I'm the key account manager for Somerset, so I work alongside Anna, organising these events and working out what wines we're going to taste with you guys, which has been fantastic. I've been with Indivin for just over a year now, but have been in the wine industry for about 12 years. So absolutely love it. Wine runs through the veins. I've got a grandfather and a great great grandfather, not with us anymore, but who were winemakers. So have always loved this industry and passionate about wine and winemaking. And then Dave,
Yeah.
intro.
Yes, absolutely. Nice to see you all again. So my title is Group Winemaker for Indevin Group, which includes Villa Maria, and quite an amazing story, really. I guess you've got two sizable wine companies. Villa Maria obviously goes back over 60 years and has an amazing record of making quality wines throughout all of that time, and we grew and grew and grew to become really one of New Zealand's premium wine producers. And about 3 years ago, the opportunity to purchase Villa Maria came up as a business. So Indevin Limited was actually, at the time was the largest producer of wine in New Zealand, but perhaps a name that you would be unfamiliar with, which isn't a bit surprising because their business model is a little bit different to what Villa Maria does. So Indevin grows and makes a lot of wine, and then has key relationships with key customers around the world, the likes of Tesco and Sainsbury's and Waitrose in the UK. So they would actually sell wine, make the wine and sell it to those companies directly. So an amazing success story, really. Indevin's only 20 years old. So the combining of Indevin with that wine supply side of the business, if you like, combined with Villa Maria, who's got an amazing brand story, together we've become quite a powerhouse, really, in the New Zealand wine landscape. So here we are now. The story around Villa Maria hasn't really changed at all. If anything, the wines I think are stronger and better, and we've got certainly a lot more vineyards now to source fruit from, which is exciting. The story and the brand moves on. So exciting times, really, for the Villa Maria side of our business. And I've been with the company now just over 20 years. So seen a lot of changes, and excited for what's to come.
Excellent. All right.
So we've got
Get
3
that.
wines to taste this afternoon, and any apologies if you've already said it, but at any time, if anybody has any questions, there's the little chat box down there, and that's a great way to fire any questions that anybody might have, and hopefully there's someone at each venue that can perhaps coordinate questions, and there's probably going to be time at the end for anything that we want to discuss as well. But feel free to use the chat box at any time, and Brittany and I will do our best to get to all of the questions. So we've got 3 wines for you today, and hopefully by now you have got wine number 1 in your glass. This is our Villa Maria Sparkling Brut Rosé, and sparkling wine is, if I'm honest, it's probably a style of wine that we probably haven't focused on too much. We've actually been making sparkling wines for many years in very small amounts, but we launched the sparkling Brut probably about 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, so the sparkling Brut came out, about 2.5 years ago, and then the sparkling rosé came out a year ago. So pretty much bang it on a year ago.
Yeah.
So this will be our second Christmas with the sparkling Brut rosé.
Yeah. So we've seen the popularity of sparkling wines around the world really increase at all different price points. So a good opportunity to use our winemaking skills and also the great vineyards that we have to create a new product. So the sparkling Brut that I'm sure many of you would have had a chance to try, that's predominantly Chardonnay based, and you can tell by the delicate color this is not Chardonnay, but in fact this is predominantly Pinot Noir. So Chardonnay and Pinot Noir are 2 great varieties that are used for sparkling wine right around the world. In fact, in the great region of Champagne, those are the 2 major varieties. Not saying this is Champagne by any means. In fact, the way we make this wine is a little bit different, but I think when you pour a glass of sparkling wine, you've got some nice glass where you can see the bubbles coming up. Naturally, you get a little bit excited. So we sort of see these wines as real celebration wines, and I think that's probably a theme for the tasting we've got over the next little bit, is thinking about the warmer months. It's summer's not too far away, and enjoying a nice glass of something crisp and refreshing is a lot about how us Kiwis enjoy the warmer months. So feel free to have a smell and taste if you haven't already. It's got a lovely bouquet. Pinot Noir tends to give you some of those red fruited characters, and you've also got sort of this lovely, there's a little bit of a floral note to it, and then there is a small percentage of Chardonnay actually blended into this one as well. So it's predominantly Pinot Noir with about 14-15% Chardonnay. So Chardonnay just gives you a little bit of acidity, but the balance is created to be a very Moorish, very easy to drink sparkling style wine. So if you perhaps have had the chance to try Prosecco as a wine style, I think this is in that similar sort of style. It's quite fruit driven, very easy drinking, and it's quite easy to get to the bottom of a glass, and all of a sudden you're pouring yourself a second one.
And it's also really well priced. Sparkling versus champagne, you can, for this one especially, it's about $19.99 RRP. Christmas, we are going to be running some deals in our grocery and retail outlets, so you'll see this for about $15.99, possibly even $14.99 as well. So some pretty hot deals over summer, but yeah, definitely better price than your champagne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other unique thing about this wine is actually all of the vineyards are actually based in Hawke's Bay, and Hawke's Bay is a fairly unique region, particularly for Pinot Noir. And so we do have one vineyard that is in a little bit of a cooler spot for Pinot Noir, and we sort of see, in general that we actually produce stronger Pinot Noir for your classic Pinot Noir as you'd expect it from Marlborough or from cooler regions. Hawke's Bay, it's fantastic for Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon. And the vineyard that we've got for Pinot, when we were thinking about this project, the Sparkling Brut Rosé, the block in Hawke's Bay was actually quite a natural fit for it because we can pick it a little bit early. We retain a bit of that nice acidity in the fruit, and it really does actually suit the style really well. So it's gone well for us so far. We're excited, and we've had good feedback for the wine as well. It's a nice pairing to the Sparkling Brut. The Sparkling Brut probably is the one that most people know, but more people are discovering that the rosé. It's a nice, slightly alternative style compared to the Brut.
Yeah. Have a try, have a taste. Let us know what you think in the comments. We'd love to hear what you think, especially if you've tried the Brut as well. Let us know what you think of both of them. What about storage? How should we store it? How should we be serving it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think personally, I love sparkling wine, almost straight out of an ice bucket or out of the fridge. There's some wines that you can certainly serve a bit too cold, and I think of Chardonnay a bit like that. But sparkling wine and rosé, I love it. As I said, straight out of an ice bucket. I think that really lovely chilled, style of wine really accentuates that lovely freshness and the acidity of the wines as well. So, the storing sparkling wine, there's not too many rules about it. Some people prefer to store it standing up, and others like to lie it down. So this wine is in a cork. If you're thinking about putting a wine away for more than say a year or so, probably better to lie it down and make sure that cork doesn't dry out. But sparkling wines can come in all sorts of closures these days. So, I guess the traditional way is to, if you've got a cellar, have everything lying down, and sparkling wines will be fine in that regard.
Sparkling is usually best enjoyed pretty quickly if it's made. What is the cellar selection? The cellar time for something like this?
Yeah, it's good with with a wine like this. I think we're making it. We're probably producing this wine around sort of 2 to 3 times a year. So we're obviously picking all the grapes at harvest, and we're fermenting it and putting it in tank, and then the process of getting the wine to have the carbon dioxide or the bubbles in it. That's a process that usually takes about 1 or 2 months. We send it away to a facility in Hawke's Bay, and they will essentially re-ferment the wine in tank, and the tank's quite thick. It's about 8 to 10 millimeters thick steel, and the lid's put on and sealed in, so the fermentation happens. A little bit of yeast converts a bit of sugar and creates carbon dioxide, but because the gas has got nowhere to go, the lid's hard on fixed. The bubbles stay in the wine, and then once that fermentation is finished, the wine gets filtered and put in a bottle through some quite specialized equipment, and then the cork gets put on. So these wines are can be enjoyed straight away. So wines such as Chardonnay or say Cabernet, they can often benefit from a few years in the cellar, but sparkling wines, crack the top, get into it. They're delicious wines that are really made to be enjoyed as soon as you buy them.
Yeah, delicious.
Yeah.
And then once you opened it, we've obviously... Sorry, Anna, did you say something?
You go.
I was just going to say, once it's opened, obviously, we've popped the cork, the bubbles drop off eventually.
They do, yeah. You can. I think if you're a real fan of sparkling wine, you can easily invest in a proper stopper for wine, and that often comes with a little thing you fold over the top, and that's quite handy to have. In my household, it's not that common that you end up with a half-empty bottle of fizz. Usually there's not much left in it. A stopper will certainly help. in saying that, once you've taken the cork out, the cork is the best closure. It's sealing all that pressure in. So even if you have got the best stopper, I think, you know, you probably can easily keep it for a day or two. Yeah, that's probably my recommendation. I can see in the chat box we've got some
Lovely
comments here. We have,
We've got Mildale has said, most of the residents thought this was a light and refreshing, good summer bubbly. So that's
excellent.
Nice little response. Levin said one person thought it was a little bit dry, but most said it's very nice. So that's really good. Lots of thumbs up from Monterey Park. Fresh and cleansing we've got from Levin as well, and nice and dry from our Wigram village.
Cool, amazing.
So
I think
lots of
let's
great
talk
comments
about the
here.
dryness, because it is on the dry side. It's 6.12 grams residual sugar.
Yeah.
How does that compare to other proseccos and sparkling wines? And you know, what's dry, what's sweet? What does it mean?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I mean, you know, when we talk about the next wine, there's even, you know, a very similar conversation. Riesling is all, you know, can be all sorts of style, but sparkling is as well. You know, you can get some styles of sparkling wine that are even drier than this wine. I think this one's got a lovely balance to it. It's got a natural tangy acidity, and we've just retained a little bit of residual sugar just to balance it out. So to me, you're right, Brittany, it is dry in style, and that's kind of where we sort of see this wine sitting. It's just got that nice moorishness to it without being too sweet. The Brut that we also produce is probably a little bit drier than this one, actually. So the Brut is, from memory, around about 4.5 grams per litre. So that, if you think about one teaspoon is 5 grams of sugar, and so, you know, there's really not much the equivalent of that in this bottle of wine. But some sparkling wines can be, you know, 2, 3, 4 times as much sugar, and they naturally have a sweeter sort of finish to them. And it all depends a little bit about, you know, the style that you want to make, and perhaps some things around the way you make it as well, or the variety that it's made from. So Proseccos, for instance, can be dry. They can also be quite sweet. So it's really about trying a few different wines, not being afraid to try something new, and then you'll discover, I guess, the wine that works for you. So for some people, this will definitely feel quite dry. For some people, it might even appear quite sweet. So taste around and find the one that works would be my advice.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
So we've got a few more comments. So Kenapuru said thumbs up from Kenny. Avonhead has said our residents give it a good big tick of approval, and Purakawa Place said enjoying the sparkling, going down fast. There you go.
Excellent.
I do like the Brut, but I prefer this one better, just personally. So
Yeah, good.
there you go. Well, I guess we'll just run through a few slides and we'll just be silent for a little bit and just let you guys chat amongst yourself and the villagers for a little bit. And if the activities coordinators want to start pouring the next wine, which is the Riesling, you'll be ready to go once we start on that one.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're back. Thank you, everyone. Hopefully that gave you enough time just to have a chat amongst yourself about that wine. We've got a few more comments in here, guys, on our questions, little questions. Ken and Peru wanted to know, what the pink cocktail on slide 3 was. Well, you could definitely make a little punch out of the sparkling rosé, couldn't you?
Absolutely. No, I think it's a great idea. I think you can easily do a mimosa or something. You could add a little bit of schnapps, would be delicious. Proper strawberry in it, and you're away.
Oh, that sounds delicious. Even chuck some sliced strawberries in there, perhaps.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We made last summer we were making sangria because it just gives that bit of fizz to a sangria as well, bit of color and a bit of fizz. So lots of things you can do for cocktails with this wine.
Yeah, very versatile.
Yeah.
Lovely. And then somebody else has just asked for the price.
Price. Okay, so normally throughout the year, the Brut and the Brut Rosé will sit at $19.99, but on promotion over Christmas in grocery and retail, and in Gilmore's as well, it will be sitting at $15.99, and then at a low for you will see it in some places at $14.99. So it's going to come down it's going to be pretty well priced, very well priced.
Yeah,
So get it on sales, because from January onwards it'll go back up to $19.99.
There you go. Purchase it now.
Do.
Oh, our next one, Riesling.
Yeah, exciting. Brittany and I were just chatting in the little break there how we both really enjoy Riesling, and Riesling can sometimes be a bit of a challenging one because as we talked a little bit with the sparkling wine, Riesling can come in all sorts of shapes and forms. You can get some very dry style Rieslings. You can get some incredibly sweet Rieslings. In fact, some examples of Riesling are actually, in fact, some of the sweetest wines that you'd probably ever taste. The dessert wines, the noble Rieslings, and they are pretty amazing wines. But so really with Riesling, if you discover Riesling, again, it's probably through trying if you discover Riesling and love Riesling, it's probably you've tried a number of different styles. You've tried the sweeter ones. You've perhaps tried the very bone dry ones. You've found something that actually works for you. So it's a variety that really is pretty small in the world of wine. I think of what Riesling outside of New Zealand, and the best examples globally come from Alsace in France and various parts in Germany, and I'd also actually add Australia to that. There's some amazing very dry, bone dry Rieslings coming out of places like the Adelaide Hills and Clare Valley in South Australia. So, some really amazing wines that have a very loyal but small group of fans. And I definitely consider myself a fan of Riesling. I think they're very, very exciting wines, and actually are some of the most age-worthy white wines that you can buy. So again, you buy a great, for instance, a great McLaren Vale Riesling or Adelaide Hills Riesling, and seriously, they would last for 20 plus years if you look after them. But enough about that. We're talking about Villa Maria Private Bin Riesling. This is from Marlborough. So Marlborough is a region, obviously, that is most famous for Sauvignon Blanc, but really grows and is the right climate for some brilliant Riesling. And we're lucky to have a few key Riesling blocks across the Wairau Valley in the north, and then there's also some Riesling grown in the Awatere Valley. For us, we probably see the stronger Riesling coming from the Awatere, where it's nice and cold. If you think of Adelaide Hills in South Australia, Alsace, and parts of Germany, generally those regions are seen as fairly cool. South Australia is quite a warm area, but Adelaide Hills, with that elevation, you get some lovely freshness to the wines. And this wine here, I think's got a nice balance between a little bit of residual sweetness. This has actually got 11 grams per litre residual sugar, but it's got this amazing acidity. It's got this really lovely crispness to it. The tasting note that's on the screen there, I think, describes the wine really well. It's quite citrusy, lime, lemons, and there's a nice floral note to it as well. And that really tangy, zingy acidity has a nice balance with that little bit of residual sugar that sort of I think finishes the wine with a beautiful balance. So I think again you'd have this wine nice and chilled. For me personally, it's a delicious glass of wine on its own, but you could match that with quite a lot of cuisine. Actually, I think it's actually got enough a little bit of sweetness there that it could match well with, say, food that's got a bit of spice to it, a little bit of chili or a little bit of heat to it. I think the Riesling would go really well, and you could also match it quite comfortably with seafood and sort of salads and things like that. So food and wine matching, that's a whole nother thing. But kind of nice to know sort of, I guess, what kind of foods you'd pair it with.
Yeah, and I think Riesling actually is one of the best food-friendly wines out there. So if you guys are enjoying any cheese today, I'd be pairing this with something like a Havarti, whereas the sparkling rosé that you had just before, I'd have paired that with something more like a brie. But Dave's absolutely right. Some spice, Asian cuisine, Mexican cuisine, a curry, anything with a bit of spice is absolutely delicious. I remember going to the Rhine Valley in Germany a long time ago now. But it's one of the oldest grape varietals out there. I think it dates back, I read somewhere it dates back to about 1435. So some pretty amazing history with this grape varietal. And we're lucky enough to grow some amazing Riesling in New Zealand, especially in that South Island cooler climate zone. So yeah, it's delicious. Have a try. Let us know what you think. I've got a comment here that someone thinks it tastes more like a Pinot Gris. Why would that be?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think a bit like Pinot Gris, Pinot Gris can have a little bit of residual sugar. I think that if I was to try this blind, I think the giveaway for me for the Riesling would be that tangy acidity, and Pinot Gris generally is a little bit softer. Some Pinot Gris can have this lovely, zinginess to them, but the acidity and that really tightness to it is probably the giveaway for me for Riesling. Monterey Park is loving it. Good to hear.
Loving it. Brilliant. That's good.
And what about alcohol and sugar? So this sits at 11.5% alcohol.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of sugar in there. So this is considered an off-dry wine.
Yeah, so I guess with the tasting notes and information that we can get to the consumer, it's important that we try and describe the wine style before perhaps before people have spent money on it, which I think is important. And we try and also convey that information on the back of the label as well. And I think if someone's perhaps at a supermarket or at a bottle store and not quite sure what to buy, the more information we can give you, the better, I think, before you commit your money to it. So on the back label and on the tasting note, we refer to the wine as off-dry. So if you see the word dry, you can expect it to be dry, obviously, as the name suggests. If it says off-dry, you can certainly expect there's a little bit of residual sugar to it, and hopefully that gives you an indication of what to expect. And Riesling, as Brittany said, it sits at 11.5% alcohol, which is on the lower spectrum for some wines. A lot of Sauvignon Blanc would be sort of 12.5 to 13, and Chardonnay, for instance, would be 13 to maybe 13.5. Red wines can sometimes be a bit higher. So 11.5 is a nice balance for this style of Riesling. And we won't get too technical on you, but really that little bit of residual sugar that's left in the wine, if we'd allowed that to ferment out, we probably would have ended up with an alcohol around about 12.5. So when you've got grapes that you harvest, they're obviously very sweet, and the amount of sugar that you've got in a grape is directly relatable to the amount of potential alcohol that you will get in the wine. So as the wine ferments, the sugar goes down, and the alcohol gradually goes up. So it starts at lots of sugar and no alcohol, and will end up at no sugar and a certain percentage of alcohol. That's sort of the easiest way to explain it.
Yeah, nice.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
We've
and I-
got a question here from Vanessa. She said, are there any vacancies at Villa Maria's for wine tasting?
No, we're all full up.
Yeah. We have lots of hands up for all the tasting here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
In our village down in Christchurch and Wigram, they've said, lovely, not everyone's cup of tea, but most are enjoying it. That's brilliant.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting comment as well, because it's there's some fantastic Riesling out there, and it differs so much. Like Dave said, there's bone dry to very, very sweet and everything in between, and it's not as highly sold as, say, a Sauvignon Blanc or a Pinot Gris. And I think maybe it is also where Sauvignon is always dry and high acidity. Riesling differs so much, so it can take a while to find the one you love. Keep looking, keep trying.
Yeah, be bold enough to try a few things. I think that's my advice. And I think the more you try, especially if you're trying a range of styles, I think it's a great way to understand Riesling. It's perhaps a little bit misunderstood, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And if you remember, we probably all remember wines like Blue Nun and a few of the wines that I remember getting introduced to wine by, and if I think back now, they weren't particularly great wines, and perhaps that's those kind of experiences have perhaps stifled a bit of Riesling's growth. Is a lot of sort of fairly average entry level wines that are either perhaps way too sweet or just out of balance. So that can be a bit of a challenge for Riesling, but find a good one, and it could be your next favourite wine in a way.
Yeah, there you go. So we've got a few more comments. Yeah, we've got, we prefer this one more than the first, but the first one was still yummy. So there you go. That's good. Best one we have tried from Wigram. There you go. And someone's asking for the price range.
Price, yeah, good question. So like the Sparkling Brut Rosé, this is also easily accessible, available in grocery stores, New World, Pack and Save, and Woolworths, as well as a lot of different retail outlets out there, and Gilmore's and Trent's as well. So this retails at $16.99. Typically, that's the price. It may come down a little bit. I think I saw that we were doing some deals over Christmas where it might come down to about $12.99. But $16.99 is typically where it sits throughout the year.
So you've got lots of specials coming up over the season, the celebration.
Keep your eyes out. Yeah, lots on Private Bin. Private Bin and Sparkling, definitely. And Private Bin is definitely our flagship brand. It's our everyday drinking wine. It's put, I think, New Zealand on the map in terms of us being a fantastic wine country. And so it should be very easily accessible around the country. So yeah, definitely jump on those deals, which should be starting now.
Yeah, perfect. All right. What else have we got? We've got a few more comments, and we'll just flick through the slides and give you a moment just to discuss yourself and get topped up ready for the next wine. But Richmond Village have said lovely lunch wine. And they actually, for their birthday celebrations they hold once a month, they actually offer the sparkling rosé for that. So they're all sort of accustomed to that one as well, which is really lovely.
Awesome.
Lovely taste that stays with you, someone else has said. So keen on Riesling. We want to know how much. Oh, well, we've answered that already. Sorry. Got to that late. How much lemon lime mandarin is put in the wines?
That's a great question. Great question. This is all natural grapes. Actually, that's the flavour of Riesling that you're tasting there. So, we don't put anything in our wines apart from just the varietal grapes. Really, it's that's the unique thing about the wine industry. So, unlike other beverages, if you want to call it wine, it has to be just made from grapes. Yeah, that's the unique thing about grapes that are made into wine, is that they've got quite distinct flavors. And the way we make the Riesling, actually, we don't use any oak or any sort of overly sort of complicated winemaking sort of techniques. It's quite a straightforward process, really. We just ferment the juice in stainless steel tanks and add yeast to do the fermentation. And so the flavors and the aromas you're getting are just what Riesling has. So we often get, it's a bit like rosé. We say, people ask, how do they get the strawberries in there? And, it's just the way wine is made.
It's quite amazing, though, that you can try different wines and they taste like flavors or fruits or, things that we do know, whether it's mushroom or strawberries or tobacco or wood, whatever that might be.
Yeah. I think with the tasting notes and when you read, back labels or tasting notes, I guess the words that are written on there, I guess, are written by people that are, I guess, trying to help you describe the flavors of the wine. So in this case, I guess when you sniff and swirl the wine, there's those citrusy type flavors. So they don't necessarily mean that we've put them in there. They're just descriptive words to use to describe the wine itself.
Lovely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll flick through our slides and just give you guys a couple minutes to discuss amongst yourselves. And if you want to just start pouring the Sève, then we'll taste that when we come back. Hello, everyone. I hope that gave you enough time just to chat amongst yourselves about how much you enjoyed that wine. And our next one, with all the events that happen this time of year, we thought it would be really nice to showcase a lower alcohol wine as well. So this is our first low alcohol wine that we've actually done in a Villa Maria tasting. So that's really exciting. So we're going to taste the Villa Maria Lighter Sauvignon Blanc.
Excellent, thanks, Anna. And it is good. We sometimes forget about the alternative wine styles in a way, and we've been making this style of Sauvignon Blanc, and in fact also a rosé I can add there, for probably almost 10 years actually. And the wines are typically around that sort of 9 to 9.5%. So notably lighter in alcohol than, say, the private bin counterpart, which would be about 12.5 or 13%. So you're right. And as you mentioned at the start, we are entering the festive season where typically you are, enjoying a few more wines than perhaps in other times of the year. So, an alternative example that's got a little bit less alcohol. Also, you have the benefit of slightly less calories is another thing. So it's all around those, health decisions that, you want to consider, and you don't want to not have a good time, but because it is lower in alcohol, you can safely enjoy an extra glass. Is probably one thing to consider as well, of a wine of this style. So this wine here, we've still got those classic aromas of Sauvignon Blanc, and when I smell and taste this wine, it sort of reminds me of those cooler style Marlborough characters, which I suppose is in that the sort of the fresh cut herbs. It's got that sort of lovely Snow-Pea note to it, and some of the lighter citrus characters as well. So on the palate, to me, there's you can tell that the body is a little bit lower. It's a lighter bodied wine, and it does have that less alcohol in it. So alcohol, when it comes to a wine, is a big part of the balance of wine. So we've been careful when we're making this wine to make sure we've still got a lovely balance to it, but we appreciate that there is less alcohol. So we need to make sure that the flavors around that and the acidity is all in balance. So I think all three wines you'd enjoy nice and cool, and have it out of the fridge or out of an ice bucket. And I think there's a nice freshness to the wine. I think perhaps when you've had a mouthful of the wine, and perhaps with the Riesling and maybe the Sparkling Brut, the flavors perhaps lasted a little bit longer on the palate. This one, I think the flavors do sort of diminish a little bit quicker, and that's really, I guess, to do with the style of wine. It's lower in alcohol, and so you get a sort of a lighter style of wine. But still a nice example of what Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc is well known for.
I quite like that. I think this might be my favourite of the day, actually.
Wow, that's good to know. That's really great to hear. Something we definitely haven't done with you guys before. And look, it's not a huge seller for us in terms of our private bin Sav and cellar selection Sav and some of the others. So it's really good to actually get this out in front of you guys and show you what else we can make. How do you make a lower alcohol wine?
Yeah, so the main thing to do really is, at the start of harvest, you're looking for vineyards that sort of are, I guess, the flavors are starting to ripen, and you want to pick grapes with a little bit less sugar. And as I explained earlier on in our discussion, the amount of sugar is directly relatable to the amount of alcohol. So we're picking grapes quite early, and once they're fermented, naturally you're going to be have a little bit less alcohol at the start, and the residual sweetness here is there's a little bit more than you'd say having a standard Sauvignon Blanc, and saying that to me it's got a nice balance to it. So we're quite lucky in New Zealand that our cooler climate, we tend to get some of those riper flavors but retaining lower sugars anyway. So we're probably fortunate in that regard that those cooler nights that we have in Marlborough particularly help sort of slow the ripening a little bit. If we were in a very hot climate, the ripening would race away, and you'd get a really quite quick accumulation of sugars, which provides a few challenges if you're looking to make a wine in this sort of style.
Okay, cool. And I see here on the label we've got East Coast. So why is this from East Coast, and we've not chosen to pick grapes from Marlborough?
Yeah, good question. The vast majority of the grapes are actually from Marlborough. I think in the early vintages of this wine, we were looking at looking at Sauvignon Blanc from, say, Gisborne and Hawke's Bay as well. So it's probably just an evolution. And I think, going forward, we've kind of recognised that Marlborough is still really the most premium place for growing Sauvignon Blanc. So I wouldn't be surprised that in future vintages, we're probably going to head back to Marlborough, I think. So I think our rosé that we produced that's alongside this one is still North Island based. So
I actually think that's my era. I think we've on the photo that's 2023. I'm interested to see what vintages you guys will have if it's 2023 in Marlborough, because we have actually just changed.
there we go.
I think so. We have probably gone back to Marlborough now.
Yeah.
But that makes sense. Yeah. Keen to hear what you guys think.
Couple of comments there.
Couple of comments. Sadly, not as enjoyable as the other two wines. That's okay. The other two were very good.
Residents like the Riesling better than the Sauvignon. I mean, go Riesling.
Yeah.
I love the Riesling too. We're Riesling fans here, so buy more Riesling.
Buy more Riesling, and try it out. But look, I think it's, like we mentioned, it's good to have an option for lighter in alcohol. There's so many options out there at the moment for lower alcohol beers and spirits, and no alcohol options as well. So it is something that we do need to do, and we get asked a lot for, especially in hospitality venues. Obviously driving responsibly as well. So it is something that we do need to have an option for.
Yeah.
Mixed reactions. Some do not like the aftertaste. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I understand. Yeah. What do you think, Dave? What do you think about this wine?
Yeah, I'm quite familiar with the style, and if I'm honest, that this wine's probably I'm not necessarily the personal target market, but we've all got unique taste buds. You see, what Brittany likes, I might think is terrible, and vice versa. So.
Fun part about wine.
But I guess it's this style of wine's actually been driven by consumer demand, because people are looking at the responsible consumption of alcohol. That's become a massive thing, and people still want to enjoy for instance, if you're out to lunch with friends during the week and perhaps you need to go back to work, you can still have a couple of glasses of a wine of this style, and you're not going to have any issues. If you were to, go back to work on a few glasses of say a standard alcohol level wine, you'd notice a difference. So it's some personal choices that people are making, which is totally understandable, and it's a lifestyle choice as well. There's a lot of, as Brittany said, there's a lot of zero alcohol beverages around now, and certainly, beverages that are even lower in alcohol than this one. So it is certainly a trend that we've seen. I think going back 10, 15 years, we probably wouldn't have seen this amount of 8 to 9% level wines available. So it's definitely the way the world's going, and we want to make wines that people want to enjoy. And if there's demand for a lighter alc wine, we'll certainly still keep making it.
Nice, thanks, Dave.
Lovely.
A couple of questions. One of them was about Marlborough, and would love to know, in terms of where we source our grapes in Marlborough, is it from one area? Is it across the whole of Marlborough? Where do we get this Sav from?
Yeah. So this is a blend of grapes from right across the Marlborough region. So Marlborough's a significantly large region. Obviously, the Wairau Valley in the north is a lot of lovely flat areas that are old farmland and old horticultural ground, and so that's really where Marlborough started. And then you go a little bit south over the hills, and you've got the Awatere Valley. So our vineyards really span the full array of the Marlborough region.
Nice. And chillable red wines.
Chillable red wines, absolutely. I think in summer, often taking the edge off a bottle of red's actually a nice thing. So you perhaps wouldn't do that to a big Shiraz or a Cabernet Sauvignon, but varieties like Pinot Noir particularly, or Gamay, if you can come across that, they're really delicious. Just put in the fridge for, say, half an hour, That's a really delicious way to enjoy a red wine. Some people want to have a red wine even on the hottest day. So just putting it in the fridge to take the edge off, I think, is actually a great option.
Yeah, it's actually not a new thing. France, Beaujolais, Burgundy have been chilling their reds for many, many, many years, and we're kind of just catching on to that trend now. So it's definitely not a new varietal that's come in that we're now chilling. It is the Pinot Noir grape varietal. And typically, something that's not so high in tannin, I suppose, is best to chill. So give it a go. It's delicious, and it means you can drink Pinot Noir all through summer, which is great.
There you go. Perfect question for the beginning of the season, the warmer months.
Nice. I see from Kinaparu, the rosé was the favourite. That's good to see. Sauvignon least favourite. I mean, Sauvignon can't be the best wine all the time. So, but no, it's good to see that the sparkling brut rosé went down a hit. That's excellent.
Yeah, perfect.
No bubbly left. Fair enough.
Amazing.
It's interesting. Everyone's got a very different taste, don't they? But it's definitely nice to try the different lower alcohol options, and just to be a bit safer with what you're drinking if you're driving, and etc. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll just give you a couple minutes just to chat amongst yourselves, and then we'll pop back on just for a few more minutes. So if you've got any more questions, just think them up and type them in the chat function, and we'll pop back shortly.
Great.
Cheers.
Thanks.
But that was enough time for you all just to have a little chat amongst yourselves. So we've got a couple more questions in here for you guys. We have, how much does that retail for, please?
Yeah, great question. So this is also $16.99, and you can find this in grocery and retail. Probably not as easy to find as, say, our private bin Sauvignon Blanc or the Sparkling Brut or the Riesling, but it's definitely out there. So have a look. I didn't mention as well, so if you guys were enjoying any cheeses today, I would have probably had this with like a Gouda.
Nice.
But I mean, all of these wines would go excellent with, your summer salads, fish, seafood, anything light, summery.
Lovely. Riesling was the favourite here at Atea Village, so hello from us. And Trimtham says hello, and where does the Thornbury fit in with the Villa Maria?
Yeah, great question. And Thornbury is a brand that we've had for a number of years now. In fact, I think it would have been around about 2004, maybe 2003, that Thornbury came into the Villa Maria portfolio. So the story is basically Thornbury was the the brand was started by a gentleman by the name of Steve Bird, and probably in the sort of the mid-90s, and it got to a point where it was actually just he needed a bit more investment and wanted the brand to continue. And it was a point where Villa Maria was busy expanding our footprint, and really felt that Thornbury fitted the scope for another brand that worked with what we wanted to do. So Thornbury still exists. We make a Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc, we make a Gisborne Chardonnay and a Hawke's Bay Rosé, and a Hawke's Bay Merlot. So really well-priced wines for what they are, and they go very well.
Yep, and you would have seen our other brands as well. So within the Indivin portfolio, we have our Villa Maria, Thornbury, Esquivelli, which is always a favorite, Left Field, and we also have Vidal. Yeah. And then actually we've also introduced a couple of other brands. We've recently, just in the last week, introduced Northrow, which is an on-premise exclusive brand. So it's something we're going to look at doing a tasting with you guys at some point next year.
Right.
And then we've also recently in the last month brought on Killibinbin and Matala brands, which are from South Australia. So you may have tried some already. If not, we'll definitely look at doing a tasting with you next year. But some fantastic Shiraz and Cab Sav options there as well to look forward to.
Yeah, perfect. And Taupo has said Riesling was a favourite here. Thank you. Liv has said mixed responses here at Avonhead when attempting to pick our favourite. However, all were splendid. Thank you kindly for today's session. Great fun. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah. So we are going to have 4 more Villa Maria virtual wine tastings in 2025. So watch this space for what wines we'll be tasting. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for attending these sessions, and thank you so much, Dave and Brittany, for joining us today, but also for all of the tastings that Indivin does for us. We're very thankful for it, and our residents are just loving them. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having us. We really enjoy doing these tastings and sharing our wines with you all. And we're really looking forward to coming back next year and doing some more. So thank you. Always keen to hear your thoughts and your feedback so we can make them better, try something new. But yeah, thank you. We really appreciate it. And we love the partnership we have with you.
Yeah, lovely. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. I'll leave you to finish off whichever bottle was your favourite. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you.
And Merry Christmas.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah,
See you
Merry
later.
Christmas. Bye.